fact that you threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House. When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first and they put you last. Because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. What? Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa.
Yo, what's poppin'? What's going on, man? We coming in here late night. All we gotta say, you know, if you're working, y'all know what time it is. Let's get this blunt going. Yeah, let's get this going, baby. We got to get this nightly news going on. What's poppin', baby? Hit that like button on the way in.
Tune in before the sun's out. We don't wanna get up with. So for what they all be talking about. Real news with real results. Every morning we get it out. Mufasa with the politics, sporty canvas, show nigga crashing out. You get out what you put in. On your way to work, we grooving. Real nigga, real perspective, standing firm on business. You know we ain't moving. Funny vids, clips, and music. Nobody else like us can do this. Like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoying what we doing, we got what you need to start your day. Why not come and fuck with us? Before you make your coffee blunt and put them back that kids up on the bus. So wake your ass up. We keep it real. We keep it honest. Early morning exclusive, we got it. It's chaotic. What if you working? What if you working?
Yeah.
What if you working? You fucking nut! What if you work?
Yeah, man, what's going on? Works if you work it, man. That's what I'm talking about here on the late night tip, man. Y'all hit the like button for your boy on the way in, man. We're gonna get this news. Yep, we're gonna get to that late night, man. We're gonna get to that late night. That's right, man. That's right. We're gonna be from plane crashes to it all, baby. We gonna get to it, man. We're gonna get to it all, man. And we gonna say, like I said, you know, we gonna go around and we gonna see what it is. All right. So hey, let's go ahead and get to this plane crash first,
all
man.
6 on board died. The plane came to rest upside down and could be seen smoking after the crash.
The NTSB has notified us that they expect to have a team of investigators on site later this afternoon, early evening.
Airports from Dallas to Boston have been working around the clock, clearing out snow and ice to try to get people and planes moving again. At Washington's Reagan National Sunday, every flight was canceled.
Bad weather.
Solia Meckling has been in the terminal since Saturday.
We were just hoping to see if we could rebook as fast as possible because we were calling airlines and like no one was picking up.
But now you're stuck here.
Now we're stuck here for 2 days, so.
Back to more or less normal until maybe Wednesday. Tony?
It's a long time. Chris, thank you very much. CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano has been tracking the storm from the start, and he joins us now with what's ahead. All right, Rob, what are you looking at?
Well, Tony, we're looking at more in the way of cold. You know, this wasn't such a strong storm, but it was a big one with deep moisture in that cold air. And it's still, as you saw, snowy in parts of Boston. The storm itself is off the coast, but the wraparound moisture continues to dump that snow. And some of these snow totals are pretty remarkable. We'll start you off with the top 5, the big cities across the Northeast, from Boston to D.C. First time in 10 years, they've all seen over 6 inches of snow in Boston with a clear winter, likely to see 20 by the time this is done. Look at Napanock. They're in the Catskills, 30 inches. Dayton, that's a 24-hour record. Indy, Oklahoma City, that's the most you've seen in 10 years. All right, now we're into the cold. Nicole mentioned advisories down to the Gulf Coast, 20 to 32 degrees there and well below zero elsewhere. And more rounds of cold are coming down here, and wind chills will be dangerous over the weekend. And, Tony, that sets the stage for potentially another snow event here on the East Coast this weekend.
To Minnesota now, where on Saturday, for the second time in less than a month, an American citizen was shot to death by a federal immigration agent. And the breaking news tonight, CBS News has learned that the commander of the federal immigration crackdown there in Minneapolis, Greg Bovino, will be relieved of his duties as President Trump announces that border czar Tom Homan will be coming in amid a change in rhetoric as well from the White House. Let's get to Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman, who's on the ground in Minneapolis for us. Matt, good evening.
Yep, y'all see that too. He faced some backlash. Let's go.
A very public face of immigration operations across the country, especially visible here in Minneapolis, even in confrontations with protesters. We're told he'll be sent back to his base in El Centro, California. That, as President Trump said, he spoke with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz about a very good conversation, but diffusing tensions here.
Greg Bovino, for weeks, the public face of federal immigration operations here, has been reassigned from Minneapolis, along with some Customs and Border Protection agents here. That surprise move, and the president.
Oh, ain't this a bitch? I just had him do a daggone press conference, and now he out of there that quick. Damn.
His conversation with Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz today follow tense scenes overnight. It all comes a day after that deadly shooting of 37-year-old Alex Preddy. Multiple videos posted on social media captured various angles of the confrontation that led to Preddy's death Saturday morning. CBS News has slowed down portions of that footage for this analysis. Around 9 a.m., about 2 minutes before the shooting, Alex Preddy is seen arguing with agents. Preddy was acting as an observer, documenting ICE operations in the city, like thousands of others here in Minneapolis. Preddy seen wearing that.
Oh, he was arguing with agents before they even got him. Wow, okay.
Ball cap holding a cell phone is pushed back. A minute later, he's standing in the street, waving a car through.
Yeah, that's what we see. That was the video I played.
Apparent observer then shoves her toward the sidewalk. Another agent pushes Preddy, then a second woman walks over. The agent pushes her to the ground and sprays Preddy with a chemical irritant. Preddy and the first woman try to help the woman who was knocked down. At least 7 agents join and try to take Preddy down to detain him. At this moment, an agent in a gray coat appears to remove Preddy's gun from his waistband and runs away from the scrum. A second later, with Preddy's gun now in the hands of that agent, the shooting starts.
Yo, why he whip out like that? Yo, y'all seen that the old dude took the gun first? Crazy.
The agents fire as they pull back from their target. Preddy was an intensive care nurse at the Veterans Affairs Hospital in the city. We spoke with Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara.
Is there a concern that a genie has been let out of a bottle and that it'll be very hard to put it back in terms of mass protests across the city and the possibility of additional violence?
That's been my fear the entire time. I'm just concerned that the pressure is just going to keep building and building and building. And at some point, it's just going to be too much.
Hey, the pressure built up enough. When Trump had to get rid of Bovino, the guy that I showed y'all who did the press conference had to get rid of him. So that pressure was mounting.
People are losing faith that the federal government can be capable of enforcing federal law and doing it professionally and without widespread constitutional violations. They're creating a culture in these agencies that's not good, and it's going to take years to undo.
And we're told that the agents involved in the shooting here are still on duty, but have been reassigned elsewhere, quote, for their own protection. That, as officials here say, they don't know whether these latest moves are enough. to change the dynamic here on the ground, Tony.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. In addition to speaking to Governor Walz today, President Trump also spoke with Mayor Jacob Frey. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House.
President Trump's calls with Minnesota's governor and the Minneapolis mayor.
Oh, y'all remember him? Also had him on the press conference. So, now Trump is making some calls, y'all. What y'all think about that? He making some calls to say, hey, all right, we got to do something about this.
Came as the White House today sought to quell bipartisan outrage over the weekend shooting. Administration officials in the hours after the shooting had accused Alex Preddy of terrorism and attempted murder before any investigation had begun.
This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism.
Trump aide Steve.
Oh, hey, that language has changed. That language has changed. You remember they were saying massacre. Ain't no more massacre.
And Miller called Preddy a would-be assassin. The White House today distanced the president from Miller's remarks.
I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
One U.S. official told CBS News that making claims before
Y'all
any
make sure
facts
y'all
are
answer that poll.
established.
Make sure you answer the poll. What's going on with Gregory Bovino? Answer that poll. Like I say, I want to see what y'all think.
Was a terrible miscalculation. Congressional Republicans have vowed to hold investigative hearings into the shooting, and Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz had this message for the White House.
Escalating the rhetoric doesn't help, and it actually loses credibility. And so I would encourage the administration to be more measured.
Senate Democrats are now also vowing to oppose $10 billion in new funding for...
Even your boy Ted Cruz ain't with, like I said, hey, they were talking big shit yesterday, but today they had to call the boys quietly, and
Immigration and Customs Enforcement as a result of the shooting.
If there are reforms, if they start to obey the law, if they stop harassing citizens, then that's a department that we can fund.
Congressional Democrats are talking about a partial government shutdown in protest over the president's immigration policy. Friday is the deadline. One other political note, a Republican candidate for Minnesota governor today announced he's ending his bid because he can't support national Republicans and their, quote, retribution on the citizens of Minnesota. Tony?
Ed, thank you very much. Also, one final note about this past weekend and what's been unfolding in Minnesota. Federal law enforcement officers shot 2 American citizens dead on the streets of an American city. And as is so often the case with deaths, these deaths were captured on camera from multiple angles. Awful videos that no one wants to see, but we saw them. And what we saw did not seem to match what the government said to us. First, the Trump administration described Alex Preddy as a domestic terrorist. Kristi Noem said Preddy was brandishing his gun and attacked law enforcement. Gregory Bovino said Preddy was out to massacre law enforcement.
Yeah, man.
But something seemed to break in the past 24 hours to give. Late Sunday, President Trump declined to say whether the ICE officer who shot Preddy had acted appropriately. Instead, the White House is now promising an investigation of the facts and a new face of the operation, Border Czar Tom Homan, who the president says will report directly to him. In other news, and overseas tonight, an American aircraft carrier and 3 destroyers have arrived in the Middle East, a show of force after President Trump warned Iran to stop its deadly assault on anti-government protesters.
Oh, yeah, moving on. We got to get cross seas now. Like I said, hey, that's domestic policy. Yep, that's right. Some aircraft carriers heading over to Iran. We ain't done. We was just messing with Venezuela. Now we on Iran.
The internet in Iran is still largely down, but Elizabeth Palmer reports that when it does connect, you can see the results of the regime's brutality.
Witness accounts and videos tell a grim story that is consistent right across Iran. The regime's men open fire on unarmed crowds. In Tehran, you can hear the gunfire echoing as protesters gather, and it continues even as people are hit and rushed away. 500 miles to the east in the city of Mashhad, the same carnage. And this is the morgue in Khorramabad, far to the west, filled with bodies, just as we saw in the capital, where refrigerator trucks had to store the overflow from the morgue. So how many people were killed? The regime admits just over 3,000, but international teams combing through the evidence and cross-checking with medical records believe it's far, far higher. For example, the Norwegian-based Iran Human Rights Group estimates as many as 25,000. Meanwhile, the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln has just arrived in the Indian Ocean on its way to the Middle East. The administration hasn't said it plans to attack Iran, but the regime is clearly rattled and said today the presence of American ships in the region makes them accessible targets. Tony?
Liz, thank you very much. The body of the last Israeli hostage held in Gaza finally returned home today. The remains of a 24-year-old police officer who was taken while responding to the October 7th attack was recovered from a cemetery in northern Gaza. The return now of all 251 Israeli hostages, dead and alive, clears the way for the next phase of the ceasefire agreement, which includes the reconstruction of Gaza.
Dang, man. So, I mean, look, as you see, look, lot going on, man. Lot going on. You know. Hey, but see, you know what I mean? But like I said, what we about to go to next, man. We gonna take a look at what's going on live in Minnesota. We gonna take a look at what's going on live in Minnesota, man. Ice raid. This all is happening today. Man, look at that tear gas, man. Tear gas everywhere. As we do that, we're gonna go
answers. Meanwhile,
go ahead and take a look at a plane
are
crash.
still digging and blowing out from the storm and days of canceled flights.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead
11,000
and
on
skip to the
Sunday,
storm.
more than 5,000 today. From Boston to Dallas and every airport in between.
It's been a long day. I haven't slept yet.
The Cortillo family just trying to get home to Miami.
They booked us about 5 times. They booked it, canceled it, booked it, canceled it.
Tom joins us now live. Tom, we see the boards behind you. How long will it take for air travel to get back to normal?
It's actually starting to get better. We are looking at 300 flight cancellations again tomorrow. That will continue to grow. And the transportation department saying probably Wednesday night before it's all back to normal, Tom.
All right, Tom Costello for us. We're back in a moment tonight with the alarming video. How did a child fall from this moving car and end up in the middle of the street? Plus, my interview with one of the biggest CEOs in artificial intelligence, what he says about the dangers of AI. That's next.
Man, look, we gonna go ahead to ABC, man. Not much on ABC, huh? We gonna go to Al Jazeera next then, man. Don't worry about it.
Why hasn't the Korean legislature approved it? I'm hereby increasing South Korean tariffs on autos, lumber, pharma, and all other reciprocal tariffs from 15 to 25%. Well, shares in Korean car makers Hyundai and Kia dropped 5 and 3.4% following the announcement. The US and South Korea had just released details of a trade agreement on Friday. It includes $150 billion worth of Korean investment for US shipbuilding. There's an additional $200 billion for other sectors. Here's Jack Barton with a reaction from...
Oh, yeah, plenty of money being made overseas, plenty of money being done, plenty of business.
The South Korean government is convening an emergency meeting today. Relevant ministers to discuss the new threat of 25% tariffs from US President Donald Trump. And the trade minister will head to the United States to talk with his counterpart there about the situation. But I spoke with a former ruling party trade official this morning who said the government isn't too worried about the latest threats, given how many tariff threats Trump has made.
Now think about that. He gonna increase taxes on autos, pharmaceuticals, and lumber. This with these tariffs from South Korea to 25%. Man, that's a big jump.
Including 100% tariffs against Canada, and how infrequently he now goes through with those threats. The finance minister here also the other day saying the government does want to wait for the Supreme Court decision in the United States on the legality of Trump's tariffs. Trump has been using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 to bypass Congress. That's only allowable in an economic crisis. So waiting on that ruling, knowing it doesn't want...
Y'all think we're in an economic crisis? You know, Trump might use that to bypass, but they say in an economic crisis he can bypass. But if we're not in one, you got to go to Congress.
Want to lock itself into a deal before that ruling comes out, particularly if it means handing over tens of billions of dollars. It's unlikely to see back, even if the ruling is in South Korea's favor. And also a growing backlash here among the public, particularly after the ICE raid in the United States last year on the Hyundai plant that saw Korean workers manacled and deported back to Korea, and also after US President Donald Trump called the $350 billion in cash that he's demanding from South Korea a deal sweetener. A big backlash after that as well. So the government here knows it.
Y'all know that? Oh yeah, he said, yo, y'all got to pay us $350 billion in cash, yo, if you want the deal to go through.
It has to deal with the temperature in Washington, but also public.
Brian is the best content marketing team lead I've ever worked with. But before he created his content calendar using Monday.com, his strategy...
India and the European Union are on the cusp of announcing a major free trade agreement. It follows nearly 2 decades of negotiations. The deal comes as Washington ramps up tariffs on countries around the world, including a hefty 50% levy on India. Michael Apple looks at the EU's existing trade ties with New Delhi.
Rolling out
trade
the red
deals
carpet,
you might want to know about.
India's Republic Day saw New Delhi host the President of the European Commission as they pursue closer cooperation and deepening trade ties. Commerce between the two sides represents roughly a quarter of global GDP. Away from the pomp and ceremony, it's change of shift at Netaji Apparel Park in the city of Tirupur, considered India's textile capital.
If you get, we gotta go. We gotta go to the girl at the White House.
Despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation.
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the President goes for the parents of angel families and parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the President continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to the back? Kelly.
Does the President believe that the killing was a mistake?
White House press secretary.
Again, the President has said, you know, we have to review it, and this investigation needs to continue, and he's letting the facts of the investigation lead itself.
Body camera footage to be released to the public.
Now, that's not something I've heard the President commit to, so I won't do that from the podium. Sure.
Carrie, how serious is the administration taking
Got an answer on the body cam.
Local and state officials in Minnesota are actively coordinating with demonstrators through encrypted or non-encrypted communications, as well as providing government resources to impede immigration enforcement operations?
I'm sorry, Carrie, could you repeat your question?
How serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state Minnesota officials are communicating with demonstrators to basically impede
immigration officials. Well, we've definitely seen active organization amongst these left-wing groups, Carrie, and it is something that I know the FBI and the Department of Justice are looking into. Again, it is illegal to unlawfully
These ain't regular protesters,
immigration
man.
enforcement in this country.
These
And
groups.
these agitators are making it nearly impossible for ICE to do their jobs and for federal law enforcement to carry out the will of the American people to deport the worst of the worst. I would just encourage everyone to please imagine in this room, all of you come to the White House every day to report on the President of the United States and the administration.
Hit that like
You
button
come
for
into
the
this
board.
briefing room, you walk through the gates of the White House. Just imagine if there were left-wing agitators or agitators of any kind who were in your face, who were doxing you, who were harassing you, who were physically threatening you, who were biting off your fingers in the case of two Border Patrol agents we saw this past weekend in Minneapolis.
Whoa, somebody's fingers got bit off.
For you to show up and do your job here at the White
Shit.
House every single day. That's what these officers in Minneapolis are facing. That's why the president is calling on Governor Walson Mayor Fry for these three very simple and common sense points of cooperation so that ICE and local law enforcement can work together. Again, we are just asking for police to be police. And if you ask any law enforcement agent or official, they want to be able to work with their federal counterparts at the state and local level and vice versa.
We'll take a 2-minute break. You will not miss anything. More to come on Live Down from Fox.
What y'all thinking? I don't know what you think about that. I mean, hey, you know what I mean? What you think? I mean, I don't know. You know, of course, that's always the White House. You know what I mean? The White House. That's always they stance on it. But anyway, like I said, we moving
So
around.
the storm is not quite
Talking about the
over for us
storm
yet,
again.
even though we don't have any additional snow.
Some of y'all under the
Thanks for
under
that
the-
update, Michael.
Boy, some of
Thank
y'all
you
up
for
on the
what
snow,
you do
man. Full
on
of snow.
and off camera. America strong.
Look at what's
Thank you,
going on,
David.
man.
We're just one small part of this big storm, but we're doing everything we can to help people along the way.
The real question is, how is your back tonight? We'll send you some Advil. I'll see you.
Find your next possibility on cars.com. Where to next?
Grand Canyon University offered nearly $161 million in institutional scholarships.
All right, moving along.
Take it. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
It was almost like being face to face with the devil.
48 hours reports. I fought and fought.
911, what is your emergency?
She disappeared off the face of the earth.
I want clean streets, modern buildings, parks, and playgrounds for children.
You think this will happen?
What answer here?
Inshallah. Na'am bi'idhnillah. I believe that.
Most of the city's former residents are in displacement camps elsewhere in Syria. They're desperate to come home, but even though the war is over here, making this place habitable again is a long-term challenge. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Deir ez-Zor.
Meanwhile, Syrian Kurds living in Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish region are watching events back home with growing concern. Most fled the war in Syria nearly a decade ago, and are now waiting to see what happens next.
Syria, man.
Al Jazeera's Mahmoud Abdul Wahed reports from Erbil in northern Iraq.
In Erbil, hundreds of kilometers from the front lines, the war in Syria feels close. Phones light up with messages, videos, and breaking news alerts from northeast Syria. For many living here in Iraq's northern Kurdish region, the conflict between Syrian government forces and the Kurdish-led SDF is personal.
We feel betrayed by our allies. The United States has let us down and took the other side. Only Kurds across 4 countries stand with us.
Despite a ceasefire in place, demonstrators rally across the Kurdish region in support of SDF. Dozens of women gather in Erbil to braid each other's hair in protest against a video showing a Syrian soldier cutting off a female Kurdish fighter's hair in Raqqa.
We're raising donations and sending aid to northeast Syria.
That's
I
crazy.
know Syrian friends who have left their jobs and businesses in Erbil and returned, risking their lives to help others.
For Syrian Kurds who lived in exile for years, this conflict revives an old fear that their choices are narrowing again. To return to a country still at war or accept a future shaped beyond their control. With the Kurdish-led SDF losing several territories, their hopes of self-rule are steadily fading.
Iraq's Kurdish region is home to hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees, many of them Kurds. They fled war years ago and built new lives here. But family, identity, and politics remain across the border. Diplomacy has intensified in recent weeks, with Kurdish officials in Erbil stepping forward to help mediate.
Our presidency has been engaging all parties, including Tom Barrack, SDF commander Muslim Abdi, and the Syrian president, to defuse tensions. But unfortunately, both sides continue military buildups, and the conflict has taken on an ethnic dimension.
Iraq has reinforced its western border to prevent the fighting from spilling over. The war has not crossed the border into Iraq, but for Syria's Kurds, it has already crossed into their lives. Mahmoud Abdul Wahid, Al Jazeera, Erbil.
Rescue operations are underway in Mozambique after weeks of heavy rain. Floods and damage have impacted nearly 700,000 people. The country's southern and central regions have been particularly hard hit. Al Jazeera's Harry Matassa reports on the devastation from the city of Shai-Shai.
All right, let's move on.
I am Emo, a robot designed to simulate emotions and interact with humans in a more natural way.
Talking about TikTok.
Tonight, as the protests grow over the most recent deadly Border Patrol shooting in Minnesota, word that Border Patrol's commander could be pulled out of the state as early as tomorrow. There are also plans to possibly reduce the number of agents in Minnesota sometime this week. Multiple sources are telling NBC News that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino is expected to leave tomorrow. We've also learned that there are some more angles from body cam footage that is being reviewed of that shooting, in addition to the multiple angles that we have seen of that moment when Border Patrol opened fire on 37-year-old Alex Preddy. Now, 2 days after the shooting, officials still have not said how many times he was struck. Meanwhile, the way DHS has characterized that shooting has been shifting as more and more videos that seem to refute some of their early statements have come to light.
Oh, that's what's going on. I'm like, man, they showing up changing their tune on this shit.
Today, the Trump announcing that his border czar, Tom Homan, is now being sent to Minneapolis to oversee immigration crackdowns there. And the fraud investigation is also going on. We also learned that the president and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, apparently they talked on the phone about reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota, all while a federal judge is currently hearing arguments on whether to order a halt to Trump's operation in that state altogether. There's a lot of developments tonight as some Minnesotans are still.
Damn, y'all ever thought Trump would be giving in?
Processing what's been happening in their community.
I live 3 blocks from here. This is literally like I heard the gunshots from my place yesterday morning. Like it's just insane. Like this is insane. The fact that this is what our life is now in 2026.
I think people have to understand that it's not just anybody. It could have been you, it could have been me, it could have been anybody. They're not really respecting anybody. And it's frustrating.
He wasn't even moving and they still emptied like another clip into him. Like how is that even like how can anybody ever look at that and say that isn't just outright murder? From any angle, all the angles.
Man, we've got a whole team on this story tonight. We're going to get to Gabe Gutierrez at the White House and our legal and law enforcement panel in just a bit. But first, let's go to Camila Bernal on the ground in Minneapolis.
See what they got to say.
And NBC's Camila Bernal joins us from Minneapolis tonight, a very cold Minneapolis. It still seems like there are so many people out there. Camila, obviously everything is very up in the air, but what's the reaction out there to Commander Bovino possibly being pulled out of Minneapolis as soon as tomorrow?
Hey, Gotti, I think it's obviously not hard or not stretching it to say that people are pleased and happy to hear this, because anytime I spoke to anyone here, they would tell me that what they wanted was to have federal agents out of this city. So the question here is,
and that ain't happening. So I guess you just like a token. Okay, we'll take him out.
How many are actually going to leave? Normally you have, 80 ICE agents in Minneapolis. You now have 4,000 of them. And so the message from many in the community and even from the mayor of Minneapolis is that he wanted them all out of the city. And he said he told that to the president, the mayor saying he told that to the president, and they are going to sit together and have a conversation, the mayor and the border czar, Tom Homan, tomorrow. And so the president even describing it as progress. So I think even people who wanted to see federal agents here, like maybe the administration, are saying that this is progress. And so in a way, it's something that we hadn't seen before, but it looks like cooperation, Gotti.
Yeah. I mean, when we're talking about those conversations that Trump has had now with the governor and with Mayor Frey, there's what they're saying, and then there's what the community behind you has been articulating from the front lines of those protests. Protesters, are they okay with,
I mean, are these protests really the community? I mean, that always frustrates me. Say, what's the community? It's with the protesters. Like, no. Them just people that just showed up out there. You heard part of it might be true, some from the community. Part of it might just be people who just showing up there.
Really riled up would be seeing those federal agents. So, for example, I was here on Saturday when these federal agents were trying to block the scene, and that's when it would become chaotic because a lot of the protesters would go right up to these federal agents and start yelling at them and screaming and saying, things like "shame on you," and that's when you would start to see the pepper spray and
shame is one of their things, man. Y'all double tap that screen for your boy. Hit the like button.
Just the absolute chaos. Otherwise, we've seen protests that are mostly calm. And so I think when you take out the federal agents out of the equation, you likely will continue to see things continue to get calm here.
What else are we learning about Alex Purdy today?
Look, one of the things that his parents really wanted was for him to be remembered as the kind-hearted person that he was, the nurse, the person that wanted to serve others. When you look here at this memorial, there are so many signs, and there's one that even says, "Nurses save lives, ICE does not." And so I think one of the most important things for a lot of the members of this community is for him to be remembered as that nurse, as someone who cared and someone who really cared about this community body.
And finally, this federal judge hearing, like what could we see here and how soon could we see a decision?
So there are two federal court cases here, Gotti. One is where the government essentially is being asked to leave. The state of Minnesota asking a judge.
I don't know. Something's off about this. Yeah, we want him to be remembered as a nurse. His ass was out there protesting and standing and blowing whistles and all in ICE face. Something off about it.
The judge has not ruled on that yet, but the state really asking the judge to intervene and to tell the federal government to preserve all the evidence in this case so that they too can investigate. Gotti.
Camila Bernal in Minneapolis for us. Camila, thank you. And as we said before, DHS has characterized the shooting differently throughout the last couple of days as more videos seem to refute some of their early statements that have come to light. Let's take a listen.
During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots.
Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Did the officers see the weapon? Did they see him brandishing the weapon at him?
Sure. Many videos out there, many different accounts that you may see, that I may see, that anybody here may see. That, folks, is why we have something called an investigation, to take what you're talking about, to take those videos, to take witness statements, to take officer statements, all those minute details that will paint a true picture, not a freeze frame concept, and paint a larger picture of what really happened. That is why we investigate, so we can get to the truth, so there's not speculation.
Let's bring in our panel. Misty Maris, NBC News legal analyst, and Jim Kavanaugh, NBC News law enforcement analyst. Jim, first off, you know, there have been several days of freeze frame analysis from several different vantage points showing that Pretty did not have a gun in his hand, and instead it was a cell phone in his hand, and it looked like a gun was in a holster when the law enforcement approached him, right? I do want to get your expert opinion here. When you're watching this video, what are you seeing here?
Well, you know, there's an old police saying we had, Gotti. It was, if there's you have trouble getting the information, there's trouble with the information. And I think the videos are telling the truth to the eyewitnesses here, which is America. And if you watch Mr. Pretty here, we don't know what he did prior, of course, but he's not violently resisting. And I think that's a point that needs to be taken here. He's accused of being violently resisting. And I've arrested people for violently resisting and with weapons and shooting and fighting, and also arrested many who passively resist, or we call resisting without violence. So he's not punching, kicking, striking, attacking them with a weapon. That's not present. So he's not violently resisting them. He holds up his hand, he's pepper sprayed, and then he's brought down to his knees. And his hands, from the two different angles, if you watch it, Gotti, over and over, are in front of him. They're on the tarmac in front of him. And one of the agents comes around in a gray jacket. That's a key person who comes around, and he reaches around to the back of Mr. Pretty's waistband, and he pulls a pistol, which we now know is a 9mm 6-hour pistol with a holographic sight. He pulls that out, and he turns to walk away, and then there's 4 shots and about 6 more shots after Mr. Pretty's prone face up on the sidewalk.
And when it comes to disarming somebody that is legally carrying, what is the protocol?
Man, guess
well, you
what?
know, the protocol is.
Guess what? They out there right now. They out there right now tonight.
Or result in serious injury. The following routes of discipline are available. Please leave to the south, away from the business area, to Hemlock, and leave the area.
They out there tonight.
Disperse. If you continue to obstruct, resist, or interfere with police officers, you'll be in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.50, obstructing the legal process.
Oh, they outside. Protests outside of a building hotel. I think they think that, what's the name, Bovino? I think they think he in there. You see, this is live happening right now. You see, they got a wall. This stuff don't stop, y'all. This stuff don't stop. Everybody out there with their phones and protesting. Live in Minneapolis, y'all. In the middle of the street. On that horn. All right, look like the poll, man. What's your view on the situation unfolding in Minnesota where ICE raids and protests? Look like 70% of you said federal agents' actions are wrong. Thank you for taking the poll, man. Appreciate y'all for interacting with the channel. Right now, we got live action of ICE protests in Minnesota, Minneapolis, where the shooting occurred this weekend. This is happening right now.
This is a peaceful demonstration of our First Amendment rights in a public right-of-way.
Yep. Getting live look. This is how they do it. This is how the protests go. They said they get on the microphone, peaceful demonstration.
There have been 3 homicides.
Man, somebody got a box truck out there. Out there making all that noise.
Federal agents are responsible for 67% of homicides in the city of Minneapolis so far this year.
They done found where Bavino at. All right, telling them what to do. All right, you see them gathering, get in line. Y'all hear that girl in the background.
Let's go.
See, now y'all see how they do it. Real time. They're gonna line up in front of the police. See, man. Oh, yeah. They ain't going nowhere. More cars and horns showing up now. They ain't gonna let Greg Bavino sleep at all tonight, y'all. If he up in that hotel, he ain't about to sleep at all. He ain't getting no sleep. Man, what y'all think? Y'all think this is a legit protest, or what y'all think about this tactic? Out here making as much noise as they can. Outside of his hotel, the police out here blocking it, and fire people out here blocking it. Because they want to be right up next to his window. Live action of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Maple Grove, the same location or area in Minnesota. That's where it happened. But they seem to think they found Greg Bavino's hotel. And they're outside making a ruckus now. Of course, they haven't told us this is where it's suspected he is.
You're in violation of Minnesota state statute.
In Eastern North Carolina, hard work isn't a slogan, it's a way of life. Wellie Jackson is a farmer, a volunteer firefighter, and a conservative Republican who's lived the values he believes in.
Well, I guess you know.
At the Wellhaven and Wake Financial Credit Union parking lot, cease your unlawful behavior. Leave the area peacefully. Not doing so, you'll be arrested or subject to other police action. Other police action include use of chemical agents, the use of less lethal devices, and/or crowd control tactics. Which may inflict significant pain or result in serious injury. Following routes of dispersal are available. Please leave to the west, away from the business park.
I already tell them we're gonna hit y'all with this chemical tear gas.
1 minute to disperse. Continue to obstruct this stop to be in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.50, obstructing the legal process, which is an additional crime.
The forecast for parts of New England tonight. Some communities have already seen nearly 2 feet. At Boston Common, we found the snow piled shoulder high and the people working to clear a path through it.
It keeps me warm. I don't need a coat on because it's tough work trying to shovel all the snow.
The work is keeping you warm.
The work is keeping me warm, yeah.
New York City ferries are navigating past large ice floes covering the Hudson River, while further north, Coast Guard boats were called in to free a barge frozen in place near Barrytown. And this storm brought one of Boston's top 10 biggest snow days ever. Cold weather advisories and extreme cold warnings are also in effect tonight from North Dakota to Florida. And Nicole Valdez is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Here in Tennessee, 250,000 people are still enduring frigid temperatures without power, more than any other state. In Nashville and throughout the South, power lines and tree limbs are caked in heavy ice.
Damn, the villain we ain't even know.
The University of Mississippi has canceled classes for a week because of damage from the ice storm. We've met several people who've been trapped in their homes for days, unable to navigate the icy roads.
How cold is it in your house right now?
It's 45 degrees.
What are you guys doing to try to stay warm and safe at this point?
Lots of blankets. We have a ceramic pot and a candle underneath it to try to slightly stay warm. That's pretty much all we have, so.
About 6 inches of snow fell in parts of Tennessee, but it's the extreme cold that's causing real problems. Nashville's mayor is calling for patience as crews work to get the power back on.
We are seeing trees continue to fall. Even as crews are getting power restored, limbs and trees are falling on lines again in places, knocking power back out after it's been restored.
Tonight, we'll have a wind chill of negative 11 degrees.
Damn.
The Arctic cold is also causing problems at many airports. Chris Van Cleve is at Reagan National.
Negative 11.
Still plenty of cancellations, and most flights are delayed, but planes are moving again. This storm has canceled more than 21,000 flights since Friday, and now investigators are trying to determine if the weather factored into a deadly crash in Maine.
We have a passenger aircraft upside down.
Haunting radio transmissions during the height of the storm Sunday night. A business jet linked to a Houston law firm crashed during takeoff from Bangor, Maine. Local police say all 6 on board died. The plane came to rest upside down and could be seen smoking after the crash.
The NTSB has notified us that they expect to have a team of investigators on site later this afternoon, early evening.
Airports from Dallas to Boston have been working around the clock, clearing out snow and ice to try to get people and planes moving again. At Washington's Reagan National Sunday, every flight was canceled. Solia Meckling has been in the terminal since Saturday.
We were just hoping to see if we could rebook as fast as possible because we are calling airlines and like no one was picking up.
But now you're stuck here.
Now we're stuck here for 2 days, so.
Let's take a look at what people around the country are dealing with. CBS News Boston reporter Louisa Moeller shows us the conditions in Winthrop, Massachusetts, where neighbors are shoveling huge piles of snow.
When Colby Dassaw starts up his snowblower on a day like this, he's the neighbor you want nearby in Winthrop.
We saw like this lady over here was shoveling. She had no snowblower, so I'm like, it takes me 5 minutes to get over there, help her snow blow it out, and I do what I can.
And that's all you can do in a densely populated town of just over 19,000 people with windy, narrow streets that just got a delivery of roughly 1.5 feet of snow. Just ask Zach
All that
Cook.
snow out there,
Where do
man.
you put the snow? Like, I'm sure you keep getting plowed in.
Yeah, we're gonna basically make like an icicle ice luge right here. And that way when the kids get back, they can play in the snow.
We saw plows navigating the streets, increasing the massive snowbanks, and some made even higher by drifting snow pushed by the wind coming off the ocean.
The drifts were really what did us in. The stairs, front and back of the house, were just covered.
Everyone here needs to work together. Like these firefighters we saw clearing hydrants, the icy remnants of an early morning blaze on Somerset Street, proving how crucial that simple exercise is. As the cleanup continues in the shadow of Logan Airport's massive plowing operation, folks here know it's best to keep a positive attitude.
A lot of people across the country are going through a lot worse than what we are right here, so I'm not going to complain.
What y'all think about this weather, man?
Monday morning,
Philly. Let's see what's going on in
people
Philly.
in the borough of Doylestown meant spending hours digging out.
It's heavy,
Oh,
so
y'all been digging out up there?
Whether clearing sidewalks for a business or trying to clear out your own driveway.
And the key is breaking it up because when you try to lift the big pieces, it's real heavy.
Snow cleanup became a community affair.
This is my neighbor's driveway, and then we'll do ours.
The wintry mix that fell for hours Sunday created a nice crunchy layer on top of several inches of fluffy snow. So one would think a snowblower could help.
So you're actually breaking it up and then going over to actually remove it.
Unless it's this one.
Oh yeah, because it got the ice on top of it.
Most of the sidewalks still snow covered, making Peter Notwick wish for warmer days.
Yeah, move to Florida.
Stay safe. More news is next on CBS
Hey.
News 24/7.
Hey, that's crazy. You know, look. Man, let's go ahead
Yeah, you learn something new every day, and hopefully you will never have to use it. George Solis out there in Nashville. George, thank you. And the impact of this storm is still far from over. Airlines are still recovering after thousands of flights were canceled over the last few days. Right now, it is a race to try to reposition planes and crews and get travelers moving again. And NBC's Tom Costello is tracking the latest. Tom?
Yeah, hey, Gandhi, a rough day of travel today. And let's start with yesterday, because yesterday we had 11,000 flight cancellations. Now, that's the worst since the pandemic. Today, a better number. We had about 5,300 flight cancellations, 6,700 delays. Keeping in mind that will continue to build through the evening. We may not get a final count until sometime on Tuesday. As for Tuesday, we're already looking at about 300 flight cancellations as the airlines are really trying to recover from all of this. This was, as you know, just a massive storm impacting a huge section of the country. And many of those airports affected are the busiest in the country. Today, no surprise, Boston up in the Northeast, heavily impacted. For a time, nothing was going in, nothing going out. Come down to the New York City area, all three of the major airports there affected: LaGuardia, JFK, Newark. Come on down the I-95 corridor, Philadelphia. And then here at Reagan Airport, one of the most affected airports in the country, started out nothing moving when the day started. Through the day, finally things got back up to speed very slowly as airlines started bringing planes back in again. Dulles Airport here in Washington fared better. They were able to recover a bit more quickly. But then you go further south, and boy, did we have the ice storm hitting all of these major hubs in the south, right? Charlotte and Atlanta and Dallas, all of them, of course, and all the airports in between dramatically affected.
Yeah, we got ice
trying
down
to
this way.
dig out and chip out from the ice. So it is going to take a couple of days to actually get the entire system back up and running normally. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, saying it could be sometime Wednesday night before things actually are back to normal. Here's the good news, though. This is the slowest travel period of the year. So if this had to happen on any given week, this was probably the best week for it to happen. Kids are back at school. Most people are done with vacations over the holidays. Slow season now for travel, and it will take most of the...
Oh, damn. Y'all know that this is the slowest travel week of the year. The slowest travel time of the year. Y'all know that?
God help us. This coming weekend. Gotti, back to you.
Yikes. Hopefully not. Tom Costello, thank you so much. And now to the next weather threat. More dangerous, potentially record-breaking cold, and this deep freeze could linger all week. Bill Cairns is tracking what's ahead. Hey there, Bill.
Well, Gotti, now that the huge storm is finally gone and everyone's digging out, and some areas did melt today, but now it's refreezing because the cold is just locked in, and it's not going anywhere east of the Rockies anytime soon. Even areas in the south are barely going to do any of the melting of whatever ice and snow is out there. So, man, we have cold, extreme cold warnings all the way down to Houston, Lake Charles, New Orleans, Panama City, Pensacola. I mean, these are areas that don't see cold like this, especially for prolonged day after day. So as far as the wind chills go, we're in the single digits. We can handle that negative number in Chicago, but as we go through the night, any little breeze is going to make it feel really
probably
cold
going
down
to
along
know
the
in the
coast.
morning
And
about
in
that,
areas that do have
about
that
that
snow and
weather.
ice on the ground, we have a chance for setting some record lows. Look how many spots in Texas, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, all potential tying or breaking record lows tomorrow morning. Little Rock's included in this, and a few spots here in the east, even Washington, D.C. too, with your fresh snowpack on the ground. And the thing that's really making the headlines with this cold outbreak is that it's here to stay. We may not, get a break from this for maybe another week and a half in some cases. Look at the morning lows in Nashville, who was hit the hardest by the ice storm. 13 Wednesday, 14 Thursday, 13 Friday, and they'll be lucky to head up to 32 degrees even during the day with sun. Poor Chicago stuck single digits, New York City dropping into the single digits, and we're going to get a freeze all the way down into North Florida as we head towards the end of this week. And as we've been advertising, no relief. I mean, everyone pretty much east of the Mississippi River, this is the forecast for next week. Well below average temperatures, while we continue the complete opposite on areas of the west, where it continues to be warm and very dry. And now we're getting concerned about the snowpack being low. No sign of any moisture there at all. And at least that's good news for all the areas that were just hit really hard. It does not look like most people have a chance for any additional ice or snow as we go throughout the next 5 to 10 days. The exception being right along the East Coast. So this is going to be Saturday, Sunday. it is looking likely we're going to get the development of a strong coastal storm, maybe a nor'easter
Another
type
one
storm.
coming.
Now, the million-dollar question is, how far off the coast will it be? Will it be close enough to bring snow, this would be Saturday, into areas that don't typically get snow, like Savannah, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, all through eastern North Carolina? And then will it move up the coast or offshore, or maybe just kind of skirt right along the coast? The European computer model is just off the coast, missing I-95, maybe a little bit of snow in areas of Cape Cod. This is going to change numerous times. We're still 5 days away from this event, so our computer models are already kind of waffling. All we know for sure, and this is our American computer model, is that we're going to have a powerful storm. And if it's near the coast, it's a really big deal and likely a nor'easter type, blizzard type storm. If it's like this and far off the coast, all the wind and all the rain and all the snow is off the coast, and we're just fine on the eastern seaboard. So we'll watch that closely in the days ahead, guys.
We sure will. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. And coming up, the former Olympian turned top.
Man, we can move on, man. God,
as good as they are,
we got some snow
on these issues. I know that from firsthand experience, obviously, but that is something that I deeply appreciate at a time like this, and we're going to do everything.
It's still displaying this ice change.
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier that you mentioned at what point would you consider activating?
Yeah, so to be specific, I met with General Welsh yesterday.
Explaining the ice change.
And so the question about at what point, obviously that's something that we'll be having to think about as time goes forward. And, that decision is an important one. But, while I can't stop ice from coming into Washington State, I do have certain tools that I have to do the best that I can to protect the public and to make sure that things are safe in our state. And one of those tools is
Washington.
Bring up our National Guard to help protect Washingtonians. So, of course, we'll see how things develop. But the general and I had a good conversation to talk about what's going on in Minnesota, to get his perspective and to chat through different scenarios. And so that's where we're at right now. Obviously, we'll be continuing those conversations, and that's just a judgment call. But what I would say is I'm not going to be shy about doing that if I think it's necessary to help protect the people of our state. That's the criteria for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you envision the Washington National Guard would be deployed to protect public spaces or a buffer between public protests?
That's a fair way to put it. Yeah.
And then secondly, on the accountability question, can, in your opinion, local law enforcement and state patrol detain a federal law enforcement officer they see doing something that's violating state law?
So do you want to speak to that? Sure. Yeah, I'll let the Attorney General speak to that.
It's obviously incredibly complicated when you're talking about the division of authority between state law enforcement, local, and the federal government. What I would say is, as a general matter, state and local law enforcement do not have to simply watch or look away if the law is being violated. If they see somebody being assaulted unlawfully or attacked unlawfully or otherwise having their legal rights violated, we do not expect state and local officers to simply watch or do nothing. It is important that each of those jurisdictions talk to their lawyers and legal teams, understand where those lines are drawn, and after an incident, the lines of investigative authority or prosecutorial authority can be very challenging to navigate. But I think the Washington public expects their local sheriff or local police chief or officers that work for either to not simply watch if somebody in their community is having their rights violated. We hope we're not ever in that circumstance in Washington State, but I think as a general matter, that is the expectation, if not the duty, that we would anticipate our local forces having.
Make an officer liable for not acting if they see misbehaving colleagues?
I'll just say it's complicated, but happy to have the team follow up.
And the only I'll add to that, Jerry, is
all right. Well, this is the state of Washington.
It's also part of what
talking about what they want to do. Let's run back to where Gregory Bovino is, where they think he is. All right, they got a little closer. They formed their line. We see this is the protest outside of Gary Rufino's hotel, allegedly his hotel. We see now they form the line. Oh Lord. I hope don't nothing end up happening tonight. Oh shit. They moving it. See. It's live. Here we go. They shaking their head. Yep, y'all move back. What y'all think gonna happen? People pushing them back. There's a dump truck out there.
This why nobody trusts cops. This why nobody fucking trusts cops. These are fucking police, you motherfuckers.
They out there with them quads out there. They out there just doing, they out here with the band. They gonna make them pick that shit up and move. Watch. A whole bunch of press out there.
Went before cameras when Alex
Yeah,
Preddy
we'll
was
take a look
shot.
at this.
Just within 4 hours of that shooting, in fact, he said this.
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
It was clear that that was not true according to the video, which contradicts what Bavino claimed. And Bavino's claims caused massive problems for this administration. Preddy, of course, is a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry, according to Minnesota police, and he wasn't threatening them with it at the time. He was carrying a cell phone, according to the video. And Bavino is not the only one who's standing with Trump is quickly deteriorating because of his handling of this thus far. The White House distancing itself today from Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary's claims that Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism.
Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way.
And that comes as Republicans are now openly questioning the administration's aggressive tactics and demanding answers.
We certainly should not be labeling him as being a domestic terrorist who is going to execute cops. There's no evidence to support that.
What I think the administration could do better is the tone with which they're describing this. That immediately when an incident like this happens, they come out guns blazing, that we took out a violent terrorist, hooray.
So what's the goal right now? Is it to deport every single non-U.S. citizen? I don't think that's what Americans want.
It is.
I mean, it's pretty stunning when you hear that, right? It's loud and clear. And we've now got new video, as I said, coming into out front of the incident in Minneapolis that shows the moments leading up to the shooting. And I'm going to speak to the two witnesses who filmed this encounter with these videos. But first, let's go to Sarah Seidner. She is out front live in Minneapolis. And Sarah, you were there when Alex Preddy was killed. You were there when Minneapolis erupted afterwards. And now, obviously, Bavino leaving real repercussions from him are very significant. But what are protesters telling you?
They are significant from a 35,000-foot view, but on the ground, it's too little too late. They have already killed 2 American citizens and shot another person in less than a month. And people here are like, look, we have asked again and again for ICE to leave this community. Not just the protesters, not just the resident, not just some of the business owners here, but the governor and the mayor. And so for those who are here, those who are mourning Alex Preddy, the 37-year-old ICU nurse who worked at the Veterans Hospital, for them, it is almost a slap in the face. They want ICE and federal agents out of here. All of them, not some of them, not a few of them, all of them.
Sources now tell CNN that Border Patrol Commander Bavino and some of his agents are expected to leave Minneapolis tomorrow. Now, this shift in tone from the White House follows 2 days of top Trump administration officials making what can only be called blatant misrepresentations about Saturday's killing of Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old VA ICU nurse from Minneapolis. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said without evidence that Preddy brandished a gun. And
if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. And President Trump responded, says Fox News polls can't be trusted. So now Newsmax is conducting its own poll on President Trump's job performance. It takes just a minute to vote, so let us know if you think President Trump is doing a good job. We at Newsmax want to know your opinion. Again, the QR code's there, as well as the website. Make your voice heard and vote today. A brand new hour of National Report kicks off right now.
Oh, they out there, they didn't get they put the caution tape up on people. That ain't on the other side. I don't know if they're getting pushed back or what. Look like they're getting pushed back. He can't even get out of Minneapolis. Well, guess what? They saying he leaving out of here tomorrow.
Sense of decent policing by some of these agents from Border Patrol or ICE. I mean, we've all seen the images of what happened to Alex Preddy, the tactics that the local police here, the city police, have been decrying by many of these Border Patrol agents, by these masked ICE agents who seem to answer to no one. And as you know, the federal government is now in charge. The Border Patrol, ICE is in charge of investigating what happened, whether they're investigating their own officers or are investigating Alex Preddy as a domestic terrorist, as the Secretary of Homeland Security labeled him, as you've been reporting, and Gregory Bavino as well, and Stephen Miller. That is unclear. So there's a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of fear and anger here. But certainly it does feel like something is changing, and how that actually reflects on the ground in terms of actual operations. Will people still be ripped out of their cars, have their seatbelts cut, be pushed on the ground, be maced, with chemical agents is unclear. So a lot remains to be seen. But it certainly has been a day of breaking developments and some sort of sense that there is some sort of change.
Yeah, Greg Bavino being pulled back is not exactly a vote of confidence. Anderson Cooper in Minneapolis, thanks so much.
Joining me now is Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. I appreciate you being with us here in the freezing cold.
Keith Ellison.
First of all, just the latest developments of, it seems, the reassignment of Mr. Bavino and the bringing in of Tom Homan. What do you make of that?
Well, it sounds like they need to change tempo in their eyes. But I can tell you that Minnesotans have had quite enough of Mr. Bavino. Glad to see him go. And the fact is that this city is outraged, is upset, 50,000 plus marched in this freezing cold weather, 9 below, just a few days ago. The day before Mr. Preddy was shot down and killed, we marched 50,000 strong in the cold. So people are really, really upset. And I think Bavino leaving can only be a good development, and we'll hope for the best. But we're going to continue to press the claim of our state, no matter who's there.
Trump now touting a meeting between Mayor Fry and Homan, his border czar. And Homan is now taking the lead in Minnesota. Trump's controversial top Border Patrol official, Gregory Bavino, is expected to leave Minneapolis within the next 24 hours. And he's taking some of his 2,000 masked and armed border agents with him. CNN is learning administration officials are frustrated with Bavino, who you may remember went before cameras when Alex Preddy was shot. Just within 4 hours of that shooting, in fact, he said this.
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
It was clear that that was not true according to the video, which contradicts what Bavino claimed. And Bavino's claims caused massive problems for this administration. Preddy, of course, is a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry, according to Minnesota police, and he wasn't threatening them with it at the time. He was carrying his cell phone, according to the video. And Bavino is not the only one whose standing with Trump is quickly deteriorating because of his handling of this thus far. The White House distancing itself today from Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary's claims that Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism.
Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way.
Yeah, he ain't said nothing. See, like I said, they backpedaling.
And that comes as Republicans are now openly questioning the administration's aggressive tactics and demanding answers.
They backpedaling. Look, hey, Hey, you see what's going on? It'll change your heart. It will change your heart. It better be a change your heart, because you know what's going on out there because of all this. Now they done ran down on you at the hotel. Now they done ran down at you at your hotel now. But yeah, man, look, you had to come through, get a little bit of the nightly news in your ear, and hey, it is what it is. Cause see now, you know, man, we about to get out of here. We gonna holler at y'all in the morning. You know what I mean? And we gonna run this thing back, man. Nightly news, man. Khaotic style. Y'all hit the like button on the way out for you.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America, or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hand. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. Yes, you've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation, in my judgment. I didn't mean to be so fiery.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's my passion.
She got a big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, 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 back, silverback, back, with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, 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 she got a big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, silverback, silverback.
Wait.